Hey everyone, welcome back to the shop. Today we're making a tabletop for one of my carts on wheels. I originally made this cart because of a large dining table I was making, and I didn't have enough tabletop space or workbench space to work on this thing. So I welded up a cart really quick, didn't even bother making a top, and threw some foam on it and then the slab over top. And I finished that project, and it's time to make a top for this thing. So what I decided to do was make it out of 2x4s. I don't know why. I thought this was a good idea, but the milling process was absolutely terrible. Kudos to those of you who build furniture out of 2x4s, dimensional lumber. It is just, I don't like it. I'd rather use hardwoods. But for a tabletop like this, something that's going to get beat up, marked up, and most likely replaced in the near future, dimensional lumber with a good durable polyurethane is more than what I need. So as you can see, I'm making my way through the milling process. I went ahead and tried to get the straightest 2x4s from Lowe's that they had, but they ended up twisting once they got acclimated to my shop. So ended up having to mill them twice, but in any case, here we are. After milling, I'm ripping them to about 1 3/8. I'm gonna end up butcher blocking these and putting them on their edge grain. So right now the width will end up being the thickness. And the reason why I didn't go to 1 1/2 or 1 3/4 is because I was trying to squeeze as many boards as I can, almost more on a generic scale, because of the thickness variation that I had after milling. So anyway, 1 3/8 was what we ended up with, and as you can see, even coming off the table saw, behind the blade there, some of these boards are just releasing so much tension. But moving on to the glue up, this was interesting. In the summer in Arizona, wood glue does not have a very long open time. Type on 3 happens to give me the longest working time, and I ended up having to get one of these rollers. It just makes life so much easier, buys me so much time, and as you can see, I've had to use some clamps to kind of keep these things together while I roll this glue on. Yeah, got the glue on. Now taking some of these clamps off so I can flip them onto the edge. Made sure to attempt to alternate the grain, just so in the event these pieces do move, that they kind of move against each other, so it keeps it relatively flat. There I'm breaking out the old school hammer, trying to keep these things flat while gluing up so they don't move. Bet you a lot of you are asking why I didn't use clamping cauls, and the truth is I just didn't have enough clamps. I could either clamp them the way I'm clamping them right now, or I can only have a few clamps on them in the traditional sense, and then all of the clamps would have to go to clamping cauls. So I decided to use some of the smaller clamps I had on the edges to at least keep the edges somewhat close to flat. But ultimately I was very close to being unsuccessful, closer to being unsuccessful doing this than successful. But in any case, I did purposely make these tabletop pieces just wide enough were actually just small enough to fit through my drum sander. I had no intention of taking dimensional lumber to the larger industrial size drum sander at the local mill. I was just going to do this all in shop. It was just so much quicker. But yeah, here I go, clamping up. Took a lot of clamps. And making its way through the drum sander. Again, I made these into 3 pieces. And this is the smallest piece that I needed for the overall width. I ended up with about 43.5 inches in width. And this is the troublemaker piece. This was the first piece I glued up and quickly realized I need to adjust my glue up method, so this one has the most glue all over it. But the drum sander makes pretty quick work cleaning it up, so it wasn't too horrible. And here's the glue up of the entire tabletop. I ended up getting one of these glue bot things finally, instead of working out of just a smaller glue bottle. And I actually like this glue bot. You know, you see it a lot online. You know, all the brand name YouTube woodworkers use it, and I decided to go ahead and buy me one, and yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. This is probably the 3rd project I've used it on, and you know, it's just nice. Definitely not needed, but it's just nice. In any case, the entire tabletop actually glued up pretty nicely, pretty flat, and the glue seams are pretty invisible. Again, it's a butcher block, so you can really hide your glue seams because it all is, you know, essentially glued together on its edge. I did not use any dowels or biscuits to align it. I didn't really need to. It was pretty flat on the glue up, so just went for it. And now I'm just cleaning up the edges here, getting it to its final length, which ended up being about 90 inches. And it did have some blemishes in it, so you can see me using some epoxy I had left over, and a color that nobody likes. Definitely don't use popular colors on workshop furniture, in my opinion. This is actually from a sample pack, and nobody's really knocking down my door for like a forest green, you know, pearl type of epoxy color. So I went ahead and used this. Funny thing about it is it actually didn't come out too bad against this pine. Personally, it looked pretty good. Moving on, I ended up having some penetrating epoxy left over, so instead of that sitting on the shelf for quite a little while, I decided to just go ahead and use it before it got a little skunky. So I went ahead and sealed up this pine both sides, and now you see me rolling on a water-based polyurethane. And the reason why I went with the water-based polyurethane is I just wanted something very rigid. If it gets scratched up, it gets scratched up. I never really use water-based urethane, and I just wanted a little more experience with it too. And this one specifically had some pretty good reviews, so decided to try it out for myself. Ended up putting about 4 coats on, and before the final coat, so this would be coat 3, I decided to hit it with some sandpaper. The directions told me to hit it with some 220, so hit it with some 220, knocked down some of the high spots. And as you can see, I could have left it as is. It actually looks really good. It was pretty smooth, but it did have quite a few dust nibs, because it is a active workshop, and as it's curing, it'll you know, pick up some dust here and there. But knocked down those high spots, and then I ended up putting the final coat on, and the final coat just went on super smooth, really nice, really clear. If I ever have a situation where I need to use a water-based urethane, I might stick with this one. Obviously, as a workbench, it's going to take a beating. So as I kind of work with it, I'll see about its durability. But as far as application, it ended up being pretty good, pretty smooth. And the finish, it's really clear, really nice. Didn't have too much of that plasticky look that urethanes usually give. So we'll see how it ends up in the future. But right now you can see I'm using a foam roller, and doing a little research online to apply a urethane like this made for hardwood floors. The overwhelming majority suggested a roller instead of any form of brush. So very happy with how it came out, as you can see in some of the upcoming pictures. Very smooth, very clear, kept its natural look. Overall, very happy. And thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one.